Everybody ready? The Committee of the Whole meeting of the Delta County Board of Commissioners is being held this date pursuant to the following call. In a letter to the Commissioners dated July 17th, 2025, and reading as follows. The Honorable Members of the Delta County Board of Commissioners, dear Commissioners, the Committee of the Whole meeting of the Delta County Board of Commissioners is scheduled for Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025 at 5:15 p.m. in the conference room of the Delta County Service Center. Sincerely yours, Nancy Presrocki, Delta County Clerk. Please rise for a word of prayer. Lord, as we begin this meeting, we are thankful for our many blessings. We ask for guidance to help our commissioners make decisions in the best interest of the citizens of our county. And Lord, we pray for the safety of our military men and women and our first responders. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Commissioner Melner?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Williams?
Here.
Commissioner Van Genhoven?
Here.
And Commissioner Jensen.
Here.
Okay. We will move on to adopt the agenda.
I'll move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Support.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. Public comment on agenda items. Anything?
Nope, there was nothing online
Nope.
either.
Okay. Communications received and forward, none. Old business, none. New business. Goals and performance objectives for county administrator.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we set the normal rules of discussion aside so that we can have a conversation over this.
Okay.
Support.
In favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passed. So who wants to start it off?
You should start it off, Chair.
Yeah.
Okay. Goal number 1, reduce paper usage and increase use of digital technology.
I can start by saying I sent over today kind of a combination of goals that I received from a couple of commissioners, as well as goals that I feel are necessary moving into the next fiscal year for 26. So what I did is I did it by fiscal year since we're coming up on fiscal year 26. We're having budget meetings with department heads, we're planning ahead. So that's kind of where I put my goals. I know the purpose of this committee of the whole is in my contract to kind of go over goals so that I can be evaluated at the end of my annual evaluation at the end of my first year term, which coincides with the fiscal year pretty well that we're already looking at fiscal year 26. So what I did is I took goals that the commissioners gave me. I took goals that I felt are appropriate. I tried to make them obtainable within a year's time. Some of them are far-reaching. It might take a little bit longer, but I have these goals in place that I definitely want to steer my department head meetings towards these goals, the discussions that I have with my department heads, and also decision-making that I make to the commission towards these goals. So it gives you a roadmap of where I'm going, what I'm concentrating on, and things that I want to accomplish outside of the normal scope of business that we have in the day-to-day for the administration office and for myself in my position. So I don't know if you had time to review them. I just sent them out today. If you want to go over them one by one, if you want to have a discussion,
Oh, I don't think I saw
or
them.
if you all have goals and objectives for me that you want to go over individually, or if you all have talked as a board and have come up with goals for me, I leave that up to you how you want to discuss it.
So, Ms. DeSalvo, this is, you're the author of this document, correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
I guess
I'm just looking at it for the first time, so I'm just taking a
I was
look.
going to
That's
say,
okay.
one of the things that I would look at, like in goal 2 with maximize our revenue and fiscal efficiency, and this is gonna be a challenge, is getting the departments online with, it's not a use it or lose it at the end of the fiscal year. It's where, it's mid-September and let's burn everything we have because I don't wanna lose it. Well, if you didn't need it the other 11 months, you probably don't need it at the last minute. If it's one of those where we can't afford, like, new carpeting, okay, well, we're not gonna carpet half a room. Is it one of those that, then to work with them to say, okay, let's look at a plan to be able to, either defer what you wanted to do this year and roll that into next year's, versus, okay, it's September 20th, no, it's burn up the credit card like happened, I think, last year. There were departments all of a sudden were upset because, well, they couldn't buy anything because, well, the county credit card was already maxed. I think that says a whole lot and it's a mindset, it's a whole culture that's really kind of hard to get them to realize it's not theirs, it's still taxpayer money, so.
Yeah, I used to have department head meetings quarterly, and I found them very useful. It was a really good use of our time. I limited them to 1 hour because I wanted to be respectful of the department head's time and my time. I had an agenda for them. It wasn't a meeting to where everybody could just come and complain. It was a meeting where we had an agenda. Department heads were allowed to put items on the agenda if they had discussion or information or questions. But it was a meeting of let's come up with a plan of action. And I found them really useful because if we stayed on track and everybody kind of policed each other in that, and it was really nice, we came up with good solutions for issues. Topics such as that about the budget, a lot of time it just boils down to education, and I would try to educate the department heads on that. And so they really were respectful then because as soon as employees understand why we operate the way that we operate or why we make decisions, a lot of times they don't question it and they really want to comply with it because they understand it overall, it helps the county. And so when you have good communication and you meet with them ahead of time, when you look at setting their budget for the next fiscal year and taking into consideration maybe unforeseen things that are coming up in legislation that are going to cost them more money in their budget or equipment issues that they're going to need, they really then understand as the budget year goes on that it's not money that they have to expense or they're not going to get the same amount next year. And I think it goes into the trust of the administrator and the commission with the department heads as well. So it's all about communication that way, and I think we have a really good staff that throughout the years have learned that and have understood that. So the culture of that is no longer, let's eat up my budget before September 30th, because I'm afraid that if I don't, the administrator is going to look and say, oh, you only spent X amount of dollars, so therefore I'm only going to budget you that low amount for the coming year. That's not how we budget.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, goal number 1 seems appropriate, I would say. I think you did, Chris, did you recommend that part? No?
No.
I think it's great as far as, the paper usage coming down. Goal number 2, maximizing the county revenue and fiscal efficiency. I see here that you do have some information on grant writing. Of course, since coming on board after the recall, I've been really trying to push to get a grant specialist as a position within the county. Do we feel that that would be something doable on a part-time or a full-time basis for this upcoming fiscal year, or no?
I don't think for this upcoming fiscal year, we have it in our budget to hire a new position for that. So I have to get creative in how we can accomplish that with the personnel that we have.
Okay.
So I do have some ideas of looking at that, and especially, we have different departments that do manage grants, our prosecutor's office, district court, the administration office, airport. I think if we all collaboratively get together, those employees that manage those grants and help each other, I think with the employees that we have, we may be able to maximize efficiency in either applying for new funds, looking for new funds, or optimizing the time that we have managing the grants that we have.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. One, the sort of most fundamental is, how are you going to measure whether you reach the goals and whether your employees that are involved in reaching these goals actually reach them? Like, what is the method for monitoring and measuring?
What I've done in the past when I've set goals for myself is I keep a log of different things that are new and have been brought to the county, changes in processes, procedures, increase in things such as revenue that are tangible that I can bring forth to the board to say, these were my goals and this is the outcome of the goal for the coming year. One of them, like a measurable one, for going, paperless would be, as you mentioned before, trying to get accounts payable on ACH. That would be something that would be measurable if it's done or not, that I can bring back to the board to say this was achieved. That's how I met that goal.
Okay. So for me, I mean, I am an IT person and I like using IT and I will always consider its use, but to go paperless to me is unachievable.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
that's not my main focus or goal.
yeah,
I think evaluating with the department heads procedures and how we do them, and if there are ways such as software systems that we currently have that are not going to cost us more money to get different software, if we can utilize them to their full potential and give employees training on that, if it's just a training issue with employees, but if we can use them to their full potential, that may reduce paper.
okay.
So it's looking at things that we already have that maybe we're just not trained on or educated on or utilizing to their full potential.
Okay. And I would just add to that, because one of the things that concerns me is when people say that it's no additional cost. Sometimes that additional cost is actually beneficial. Like, it's okay to spend a little bit of money to get an app or increase a software license or whatever, because when you look at the actual time that you're saving, time is money, even though we're still going to spend that money on that person's time, they could be doing higher level work. They could be doing work that's not just paper pushing minutia, And so, and then also, I guess with that is thinking about the end user, so thinking about a resident interfacing with the county, either paying a fee or a fine or a bill or whatever it might be, giving them the resources that don't require them to, one, get into a car and drive to the courthouse if they don't need to, or, not having to mail, get a stamp and go to the post office, giving them resources that reduce the impact to them as well.
Correct.
Is part of the equation. So sometimes
Absolutely.
it's okay to spend a little bit of money, and sometimes it's a small amount to make a pretty big impact, so.
Absolutely. We always have to weigh that and employee time and putting into that. And, sometimes it's putting in more time up front to save time later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to evaluate that and look at that.
But one of the things I've seen, though, in the county is we have this thing, so we're gonna use it, but it's not really the best tool. So we just, like, for instance, collecting fees, and I'll use the animal control stuff because that's what I'm intimately associated with right now. I've been in it for so long. But, the tool that we are using right now so that the resident can get a license for their dog is so cumbersome that people probably aren't licensing their animals, So what's the impact by not providing the right tool? That might have cost
Right.
us a little bit of money.
And it's kind of a question that I forget to ask sometimes because a lot of times that's what goes through my mind. But I forget on the other IT end of it, we have other software that sometimes integrates with each other.
Yeah.
And so while there are other products out there that would be more user-friendly either to county employees or to the public, they don't interface, so it causes issues and problems down the road, or more money that we would have to spend in legacy costs for other software that have higher annual fees for us.
Right.
So we try to check that when we do integrate new software or go with a new vendor to see if they integrate with what we already have to save on that. So those are all questions that when we do look at something, it's not just, is it easier for the public? Is it easier for employees to use? Is it going to save time? We have to look at like long-term effects with it as well. But those are all good questions and all things that, are goals that we want to bring. We want to make it easier for the public. I mean, right now with the construction out front, that's a prime example of why we want to make it digital for them, so they don't have to worry about the entrance and walking through all of that to try to get into the building.
Yeah, today was fun getting into the
Right.
building. And then the other question I had was, one of the goals that I had sent to you, which was very important to me, I don't see it on here anywhere, so I just want to understand why it's not, or if I'm missing it, and that's the policies. I don't understand why we haven't made any progress really toward getting policies out to the employees online. They're still sitting on paper right now. They're still sitting in a big binder, and if I want to look up a policy, I have to, do it between 8 and 4, and I have to make an appointment, and I have to have somebody show me where it is in a binder. That just to me is like unacceptable. We need to have policies readily available, and I don't see it anywhere in the goals that that's something we're going to accomplish.
I consider that part of the being more efficient, paperless.
You do? Okay.
Yes, because we have a software system right now called Ease that we use for employees. My goal is to make sure that all onboarding paperwork is present in that system, and that's an example of utilizing software that we already have
Okay.
to its full potential. If we can get that paperwork put online, that will save time and paper of employees and administration onboarding new employees. So utilizing software systems that we currently have, that would be part of it.
Okay.
Making sure that those documents are accessible to them at all hours of the day, that they can just go online and look at, their beneficiaries, what they've chosen, their department policies, all of that. That they
Okay.
can readily have that available to them at any time.
So it's not stated specifically, but you
Right.
are, that's in your mindset, that that's a part of that process?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And then I heard you earlier talk about meeting with your department heads and getting their input, and, they're a part of the strategy and so forth, and you're kind of checking their pulse all the time. But what about all the other employees? Are we relying on the department heads to give us that feedback from the employees? Or is it, I think you have something in here about the evaluation process, and so are all the other
Yes.
employees going to have an opportunity to provide their feedback?
It's hard, and when I was here before, I feel that employee evaluations are very beneficial, both to the employee and the employer.
Absolutely.
And it's hard when you're government because we can't tie employee evaluations to bonuses, to pay raises. So I like to call them conversations, right? Because we want their feedback and then they can receive our feedback as well. So I think that those are really important, and I have those conversations with my department heads about that, and then I, meet with them individually, talk about, morale, talk about things that they need, what I can do for them to help them achieve their goals that they have for their department. It's just a dialogue back and forth, and I really like that in those conversations. And I encourage that in their departments as well. So with their employees, I encourage them to do that with their employees so that I can receive that feedback in my conversation with them about their office, that they can supply me with that information. I view them as my link to their employees.
So their employees are providing feedback to you through their supervisor?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because
Absolutely.
one of the things I had asked as one of the goals was doing this these employee pulse surveys. They're very short, very simple, couple of questions. You do them like once a month, and everybody gets them, and everybody can participate. And then you use them to, make informed decisions about things you might change. But they also allow for, like, if there's something kind of weird going on and morale dips or whatever, you actually you have a pulse on that, because you're seeing people are saying, no, I'm not having a great day, whatever. But if you think that's coming through your department heads to your office, and then basically to the needs of us supporting whatever decisions need to be made, then that's fine with me. But I just want to make sure that the employees, all of them, have an opportunity to provide feedback.
Absolutely, and they also know, I have a very open relationship with employees as well. I respect the boundary of the department head and their
Good.
position.
Which is very good, yeah.
And, but I also am very open, so if they don't feel comfortable going to their immediate supervisor or department head, my door is always open, that I am, the next level for them to come to with that information. So I don't have any concern that an employee wouldn't know where to go or feel like they're trapped and they don't have that opportunity to discuss anything that might be going on.
I do have a question. Do we have anything like a flow chart where its employees go to
Like an org chart?
department heads go to you, and then you come to us?
Yeah, we have a flow chart,
Yeah.
for our organization, for the county.
I was gonna say this,
It separates out like elected officials as well, because I don't have any authority over elected officials and how they run their office and some of their policies. So the organizational chart will show you that as well.
I was gonna say, this kind of piggybacks off of what Commissioner Williams said. One of the things I see in there is it's establishing an environment for and encouraging continuing ed. How do we encourage continuous education? I know you have your quarterly department head meetings, but what's the incentive for some of our other employees to take additional classes where in many cases it's on their time? How do we encourage that?
I think we encourage it by allowing them flexible schedules. So if there is a training and it runs over their allotted time, that we allow them to flex their schedule within that week, so that they're not working, extended hours just to go to a training or an educational session or a conference. It's having those discussions with department heads and encouraging them that trainings are important. So we make sure to put money in their budget so they're allowed to go to those trainings and network. Basically having the culture within the county that's something we want to do. Like, we want to send our employees to trainings, to network, to conferences, and making sure that we approve that for them.
Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson, do you have anything?
No, I appreciate the document. The biggest thing that the administrator is responsible for is the budget, and then making sure the policies that we bring forth get enforced. And, past that, I do appreciate the goals that we have, but I believe everything that our administrator's written down does follow those two big keystones.
I do like the one, and I think I mentioned it to you about, let's see here, review and optimize the fee structure, with the contracts we've had out there. I know they haven't been updated for years. And I like seeing what you got on there so we can get these updated, which only would bring in more money to the county too.
Right, and that's something that we talk about in department head meetings. So any department that does, charge for their service, such as building and zoning, the treasurer's office, we make sure to look at those so that they haven't gone for too long without being updated for inflation, and that we're getting enough in return to cover the cost of the operation. That's essentially what we want to do. We're not a money-making business. We don't want to make a ton of revenue off of it, but we want to make sure we're covering our employee costs and our equipment costs with whatever we're, the service that we're giving to the citizens.
I appreciate the document as well. It's very nice to have the goals laid out in action steps. I like that, because then I can clearly see, okay, this is the step you're going to take. And it's great to have timelines associated with it. So, I understand when I look at this, what you're going to be doing in quarter one, what you're going to be doing in quarter two, and what the goals of the administration organizational structure, what your goals are. So I know that I can, if there's something that comes along, I can forward it your way saying, hey, here's something that, meets, or could help with goal number one, whatever it might be. And then asking the right questions as we're going along. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to have at the very end, we do this evaluation, at the very end, and it's like, oh, you didn't meet, goal 3, action A,
Right.
But we have a conversation about like, hey, let's say in 3 months, you say, you know what, we're not going to be able to do this. This thing came up, this is more important now, knowing that we can flex and, not, these things aren't necessarily in stone. It's kind of like a budget, right? You
Right.
can flex.
Right.
But I definitely appreciate having, the detail so that it's not nebulous, because I really, have a hard time when someone says, like, for instance, we're going to go paperless. I'm just like, really? Okay. Yeah, I don't know what that means. I don't know,
Yeah,
I don't know how you're going to do that, but, I like the detail. So I just want you to know that I really appreciate the time spent putting the detail together.
Thank
So,
you.
thank you.
And I appreciate that too, because you all know and have probably found out fairly quickly, our new board members, that there are things that come up that you don't plan for. We've had FOIA appeals that take a lot of time. We've had even just FOIAs that have increased over the years that take a lot of time, lawsuits that come up that need attention and research done to them. There's a lot of things that can come up in the courts that legislatively change that then we have to adapt to and we don't plan for when we set out goals. But the purpose of my goals are just that's kind of where my mindset is. So that's how I make my decisions moving forward. And just so that you understand, things that I try to accomplish throughout the year, and work with my department heads on too. There's been a lot of work, like in our parks, that's a new department. I have not worked with that department as closely as I have just coming back here. So that's a learning curve for me and understanding it and understanding how they operate. So that takes more time for me right now. So yes, it's gonna change. Deadlines may get pushed back, because of something coming up. But it doesn't mean the goal falls off, and it doesn't mean that I'm not still working towards it. But that's kind of my roadmap, I guess.
Yeah, and sometimes you get things done early.
Correct. I try to.
I was going to say, the one thing that was nice is to see that they're actionable, like you said, and you have an estimated timeline of when you'd like to do them, but yet they're also realistic. So it wasn't just put one of those on there where I want everybody here to see that in Q1, 2, and 3, we're going to do all these things. They're spread out over not just this fiscal year, but like one of them actually goes through fiscal year 27. So it's nice to see that we're not just trying to lump everything in, but that there is a progression. We're, like you said, there's some things may get done early, some things, it's, for whatever reason, may take a little longer. It gives you that flexibility in there. So it was nice to see that they're actually realistically laid out.
Thank you.
Where do we stand on hiring a controller so that we can get this fiscal year for 26 going on a good note?
So we had 2 applicants that I scheduled interviews with, and each one, the day before the interview, called and withdrew their application. We've received 2 more applications that I've looked at, and I intend to call and have come in to interview by next week. One of them does not meet our educational requirement that we have right now of a bachelor's. She's actually in the process of it. So that's a discussion I would have to have with personnel based on her experience to know if that's something personnel is comfortable with, and then bring that to the board if in fact that individual is interviewed and it's something the county is looking for. But that's where we're at. So I'm hoping still that we can get somebody in place before fiscal year 26 starts. That doesn't mean I'm going to have somebody here to help me put the budget together now. So I've been doing that myself and working on that right now. That's my priority. So some of those other goals obviously kind of are getting pushed aside until fiscal year 26 starts. And that's why I put on the document that it's for fiscal year 26 to allow me that time. So I'm hoping that we can get somebody in place before the next fiscal year because our office can desperately need it right now in administration.
Do you think it's feasible to get somebody with the job description we currently have matched with the salary we've set?
Not if we actually want to hire a CPA. I do not.
And I don't think
I
we
don't
were
think that was
looking
a
for a
requirement,
CPA.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we weren't.
If we're looking for more of somebody to do bookkeeping for us, I think that may be possible. But if we're looking for somebody with a little bit higher level certification, like a CPA, I don't think that would be possible.
Is there, how do I want to say this? Based on the requirements that we have it now, and the job description we have it as now, do you review that as more of a bookkeeper position or as a controller position?
The actual job description itself is more of a controller position. So it would be somebody, if we hired somebody into that position, it would be somebody that has more of a bookkeeping background,
Okay,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
it does. Thank you.
And I would just like to support that, and I don't know what personnel is going to do, they're flanking me here on the sides, but I would highly support an individual who has the experience without the education. I mean, we run into that all the time. From IT hiring, I've had to deal with that for many people that I've hired, and they've almost always turned out as really good hires. They're qualified, but they just don't have the educational requirements, but they have the job experience, and to me, it's just as much value, so I would support it.
Thank you.
Okay. Goal 3, improve county employee work environment and retention.
Retention, that's the biggest one. Retention, because we have good employees that we want to keep, and retention because it costs money every time we have to train a new employee, and every time we have to pay out an outgoing employee. So retention is kind of twofold. It helps keep county operations going, which helps our citizens, but it also helps the county budget. So looking at retention is huge. I think those employee evaluations or conversations with department heads are going to be beneficial for that. I fear that if we put out employee surveys often, that we're going to get the same response from employees. They're going to want to get paid at a higher wage, or they're going to want to get more help. So I think knowing that and working towards that goal for them is my goal. And so I feel that we need to do what we can and be creative in government to keep our good employees that we have. And I can do that by allowing a flexible schedule that doesn't interfere with the public and their access to them or their department. I can do that by making sure they have a safe working environment, the equipment that they need to perform their job. So those are things that I do have control over, and that's what I'll be working on for that.
I like the improved office environment. There's a lot to be said about that. Being comfortable, knowing that when you're typing all day, you have the appropriate equipment, that your wrists and your fingers don't hurt at the end of the day, that your neck doesn't hurt. Just thinking about them and their physical well-being as well as their emotional well-being, but thinking about their physical well-being is important, especially a lot of us who sit in front of a computer all day. We don't think about that and how much pain that can actually generate. But it's as important as the folks who are doing, manual labor, who are working very hard physically with their body, but to think about them all and to try to accommodate the needs of all of our employees I appreciate that, so.
Yeah, and we're unique. We have many different departments that do different things, you know, so our airport and their personnel need different things than our courthouse personnel. So being mindful of that when discussing things and making sure that each department is heard is really important.
Yeah. And walking into everything with universal design, so that when we are making changes to the physical environment or to the digital environment, that it's always with a universal design in mind. We're not generating this thing or modifying this space for an individual. It's for everybody, so that no
Correct.
matter who's going to use that space next or who's going to use that document next, it works for them. So it's that universal sort of view of change or transition.
When we look at the current courthouse building, what is the heating and cooling system like at this point? Because I know several employees have told me like their offices are stifling hot or they're freezing cold or,
Yes.
yeah.
So, I was on the job it was my first day, and our chiller went out.
Okay.
They've been having issues with it. I talked to Corey ever since they relocated the utilities.
Okay.
And so there was a section of the courthouse on the lower level by front of the court that was extremely hot, especially when the chillers go out, because it takes about an hour for them to get back up to where they need to be. And so I was aware of it, addressed the issue right away. Corey and his crew and Rich were fantastic. I mean, they were on top of it. It happened, I think, 3 times that week that we experienced it. And so Corey ended up calling the vendor who helps us with that. And they're actually not located in Escanaba or in Michigan, but he now, the vendor, is going to come here and take a look at that, because there are, I believe, 2 zones that have been continuing to give us issues. And so he's coming here to take a look to see what can we do for those issues. So it is something that I'm aware of, and we're trying to take care of it, because we understand that some of the temperatures were definitely way too high for employees to be in.
Undesirable.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
And you feel comfortable at this point that you're gonna be able to get the budget worked out and presented in time and?
My plan right now is to present it at the August 19th meeting.
Okay.
So it gives the board time to digest it, give feedback before it's actually the meeting that it actually has to be approved by in September.
Okay.
So yes, I'm confident that I'll have something together for you, a draft budget by then. There are a couple departments that it's new for me, because they now have boards and committees that have been working on their budget, and normally it's the budget coming, you know, from meetings with the department heads and me to the committee. But I have those budgets. I'm going to get them back. I've been communicating with those committees. Commissioner Williams is one of them, like with the Parks Committee, that we've been going back and forth. So a couple of those budgets are pretty well done right now. It's just kind of the outliers that I'm working on now.
Okay, thank you.
And I would say maybe next year we would do things differently, but this year, because of the situation that we were in, I mean, Ashley was she was like, can you help do all of these things, you know? And
Right.
So we were all taking on as much as we could.
Good.
But next year, we may want to think about how to do that differently for everyone's sanity. But for now, you know, we're just trying to get it done as quickly as we can, so.
Yeah, you're right. It was a very condensed time frame. I mean, I came on June 23rd. Normally, I would have meetings with department heads and discuss budgets involving the controller. We would have these meetings, you know, early June
Yeah.
to talk about it. And then it would give us more time to get the budget together, and then back to the department heads for review, because I always wanted to give it back to them, make sure that, you know, it looked good, and to let them know that's what I'm going to be presenting to the board. So yeah, it was a little kind of wonky in the timeframes of things, but in the future, that's normally how I would do it. So something like your committee, like the Parks Committee, I would sit down with with Heather, our parks manager. I would discuss the budget with her. She would inform me of like anything coming up in the next fiscal year that she knows of, equipment, repairs, any increases in things. And then I would give her that draft budget. She would then take it back to the committee. They can discuss, give feedback, and then it would come back to me. So
Sounds good, yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
What do you see, like, you laid out these goals for us and these objectives, which is great. What do you want from us as commissioners?
I think really just the autonomy to have that open dialogue with my department heads. So if there are issues or things that come up and commissioners are made aware of, to make sure to have the conversation with me too, so that I can help facilitate that to the department heads. Really, it's just the communication for me that I need. If there are things that you feel I'm going down a wrong path, or I'm doing incorrectly, or you'd like to see it done differently, by all means, have that conversation with me. You know, I'm open to that feedback. If there are things that you need from me as a board, you know, with how you're more comfortable things being done, I'm trying to explain, I guess, my process and how I do things, so that if and I'm not saying this is the way it has to be done, I'm just letting you know this is how I've normally done it. But if there's another way, or if there's something that you would like to change to that, I'm open to that. So I don't want you to think I'm not open to that. But I think sometimes department heads can feel overwhelmed if they're getting direction from me, direction from a commissioner, that they don't know who do they listen to, or who should they go to, or do they need to share that information with me? And if they do share it with me, is the commissioner going to be upset that they've shared it with me, kind of thing? And I've just been trying to explain to them that it's all transparent. So we all have the same goal. We all, you know, want to see the county move forward. So they definitely can share anything with me, and then I can have that conversation, you know, with you all as the board, either during an open meeting or individually, if it's just an issue that we need to discuss. I think it's just a learning curve. You know, I'm a new administrator. This is a new board. So I think, you know, just that communication for me will help and go a long way.
So, we approve this?
I don't think we
No,
can.
we can't.
Not
No,
with a
it was
opinion
more
of
for just
committee of
for
the
you
whole,
guys to
but-
have a template for the meeting to go off
Okay.
of what I'm thinking. And if you were like, no, you're way off base, we already have these plans in place. So it was more just a template to give to you that I'm going to work off of and take into consideration what I received from the commissioners.
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I do appreciate you taking the feedback that was sent and developing a plan that encompasses some of that, you know, it's good, so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
We
have
got public comment.
The public comment, which there is none. Well,
And the phone.
And the
Yeah,
phone.
You might have had a call in. Or remote.
I'm just trying to move along. There is no public comment,
You're gonna hear about it now, though.
no public comment remotely.
Nothing?
No,
You made the motion to adjourn.
I did.
I'll support. Okay, we're good to go.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate
Do
it.
we need an all in favor to
All in
adjourn?
favor?
Technically, no. You can
Okay,
just leave.
good. All right,
Thank you.
You don't adjourn
We're
a committee of
adjourned.
the whole.